Hello everyone, my name is png.jpg, but you can call me PNG for short. I think you get the idea by now, it's the 4th video I've made. I just want to talk a little bit about Doomfist today, and I thought I'd try something a little different, and have just kind of like a rambly sort of thing go on, because I don't really want to write a script for Doomfist. I'm not a Doomfist player, but I do play Doomfist I do play Doomfist occasionally, and he's probably my favorite tank to play, and I want to express how I feel about him, but I don't feel like a scripted video would fit this character from me. So I'm going to try and just ramble for a little bit, and we'll see how it goes. This is the 3rd time I've recorded this, so we'll see if I get everything I want to say in here rather quickly, but alright, so just like overall impressions of the character, I feel like he's rather unimpressive is what I would say. He's not necessarily weak. There is some power to his kit. It's just that power doesn't feel very good. Even though I do like playing him and I think he's really fun, the power there is in his kit is very limited and it's not easy to access. And maybe it's just because I'm bad, or maybe they want the character to be that way, to be harder to access his true potential, but I feel like it requires too much effort, I feel, for not enough reward. Because Doomfist is quite difficult to play, and he doesn't really give you that much, even when you do play him. He kind of is, and that's the best you can ask of him for most of his playtime. Really, the only times he's useful is when he has Empowered Punch, and that's when he can make a big play. He can do other things while he has his other cooldowns up, but the big plays he can make are with Empowered Punch. And I feel like that's just not a good place for him to be in. And I get it. His name is Doomfist. The fist is supposed to be the main part of his kit, I understand. But I feel like punch botting is just not the way to take this character, and that's kind of how they have taken him. And I don't really like that very much. I like Doomfist to be kind of like a CC bot, basically, rather than a punch bot. I liked it back when Doomfist had a slow effect on his Seismic Slam. That was really good. That was back in the first beta for Overwatch 2. They instantly removed it, so I don't even remember how long the slow was for. But I remember there was a slow on Seismic Slam. And I miss that so much, because it gave him another playmaking option to, like, set up his team. Instead of just trying to get the 100 damage for the charge punch, then landing the charge punch on a group of enemies, it's so much effort to set up a play that often doesn't even reward you that much. And I find it weird, basically, that it takes so much effort to do so little, especially when the character is already rather mechanically demanding. It's strange, to say the least. I don't really understand where they're going with the balance of Doomfist, because they're kind of pushing him in the direction of a punch bot, and that just doesn't fit with me. So what would I do to Doomfist to make him better? I think, first of all, I mean, there's like 2 routes you could take this. Either they make his punch come up more often, so he is just a punch bot, or they give him more utility in the rest of his kit. That's what I'd prefer, the more utility route. I'd kind of prefer both a little bit. Like, the punch comes up more, and he has more utility. Because, I don't know, just that it would feel better to have that powerful aspect of his kit come up more often. Because you don't really get it that often right now. It's kind of hard to get... It's like Zarya sometimes, where it's hard to get them to shoot you, to give you that empowered fist. And I feel like it's just not consistent enough for how little it does in the end. So I would lower the damage threshold on block to maybe 90 again, maybe even 80 again, to give him more empowered things. And I especially would... Oh, give him more damage reduction. I just got destroyed by that Bastion. That was stupid of me. I would especially give him more damage reduction on block. Because I feel like block is just not a good enough ability on its own. It services what it does, but it's not very good, and it doesn't feel that good. Like, you can definitely feel that you're taking a lot of damage, even though you're blocking. Which, again, is weird, because back in Beta 1 and Beta 2, and the early bits of Overwatch 2's release, they actually had it where Doomfist's block had a 90% damage reduction, and nowadays it's only 80%. And why they reduced it? I really don't know. It doesn't make much sense. It kind of confuses me why they decided to reduce the damage reduction on block, of all things. You would think that they would leave the damage reduction alone and do something else to nerf block, I don't know what, but I don't even know why they felt the need to nerf block in the first place. It felt pretty okay how it was in the betas and in the early launch days. It felt fine to me. I really don't know why they changed it, but they did, and they changed it in a weird way that I just don't quite understand. Which is kind of how I feel about a lot of Doomfist kit. They change it in ways I just don't get. Like, in Season 2 when they gave him the Giga buffs and then nerfed him again, they made him arguably worse than he was before the buffs. And that's just a weird design decision to me. To buff your character really hard and then nerf him again even worse than he was before. Just a little bit strange to me. I can't say I understand where they're coming from with this philosophy. It perplexes me, it really does. But I would first give him more damage reduction on block, and maybe lower the threshold of getting empowered things. And maybe, give him CC immunity from the front. So, like, not boop resistance, he already has that. Being a tank, he just naturally has knockback resistance. But I'm thinking more along the lines of stun resistance. Because Doomfist is very weak to stuns, which ironically makes him a funny counter to himself. But, he's very weak to stuns, and he can't really do anything when he gets stunned. And the only way you can avoid getting stunned is literally just dodging it. And that doesn't feel that great. Like, power block isn't going to save you from being stunned. If you wake up from an honest sleep, you're probably not even going to have enough time to get the power block up. So, the question is, wouldn't that make Doomfist too strong if he had CC reduction from the front? And I don't really think so. There's still a way to outplay it, and it's not like the hitbox for power block is that good anyway. So, it's not really like you get that much of a deflect. It's just that you can now take on an Ana and in a 1v1 scenario and not worry about instantly dying due to sleep dart. It would make his gameplay a lot more fluid, a lot more enjoyable, and less easily counterable. You can still counter him with stuns, it's just you have to hit him from behind or the side instead of directly head-on, which, when he's in your backline, it's not really that hard. I mean, for the Ana it is, but for a tank, it's pretty easy to just whip around and destroy him. Uh-oh. I have made a grand error. See, that is what I'm talking about, with the CC thing. He is very hard countered by CC, and I feel like immunity from the front would give him a chance to fight back when in power block. Just 2.5 seconds out of his cooldown cycle. It's not that crazy, I think. It's basically just a nice thing to give him an opportunity to counterplay. Another thing I would do is change his slam a little bit, so that he could use the empowered state of his fist on his slam. I think that would be a good way to reintroduce the slow on Slam. I would like that, personally, because I miss the slow on Slam. And just having it do more damage and having it slow people would be, I think, a pretty good use of your empoweredness. So the punch you can use to make plays for yourself, and the slam you could use to set up plays for your team. And I think it would work pretty well, honestly. Finally, though, I really think you'd probably need the nerf Doomfist if we did this, because in some other areas, because he would be really strong if he could use his things this way. Because giving him more empoweredness means that they'd have to nerf it a little bit. So maybe Empowered Punch only does a little bit more damage. Currently it does like 50% extra. It could do maybe like 10 or 20% extra. Maybe. And Slam could do maybe 10 extra damage, so that's, what, 20%, I think? Yes, 20%. It would give a little bit less power to himself to deal damage with his, abilities, but it would definitely open up the option for team play. I mean, they could reduce the stun of Empowered Punch again. They already did that once. They could do it again if they wanted to, if in this scenario. I don't know how much you could reduce it, maybe like the 0.6 seconds. I don't know how much you could reduce it and still have it feel impactful enough to be a charged ability. I'm not positive how... It'd be a delicate balance to find an area where you could nerf the punch and the slam so that they feel impactful, yet they're not too strong. But I feel like his cooldowns should be strong. Maybe they reduce the damage on his primary fire again. Maybe 4.5 damage a pellet? I don't know about that. He has 11 pellets, so it'd be an odd amount of damage. Though it wouldn't be the first time. So, I mean, it's the first odd amount of damage in the game. So, I guess it would be okay. I think 4.5, yeah. No, that's what I said, actually. That's the same as Ramatra. I just thought of that. That's the same as Ramatra's primary fire. 4.5 per pellet would give him, 49.5 damage per shotgun blast. Which is decent. But obviously his cooldowns would be his main source of everything again. Which I liked about old Doomfist. He was a cooldown-based hero, and that, I think, was more fun than his more, like, shotgun and punch-based playstyle now, where the slam is just kind of a general movement ability that does a little bit of damage. There's not much option to use that in an interesting way, I think. And so maybe reducing Doomfist's capability to deal damage with his shotgun again, maybe decreasing the reload rate again instead of the damage. So you can still deal lots of burst damage, but you just have to be more impactful with your shots. Though I don't know, that would combo really well with the slow on the slam. So I'd be worried about that. So maybe keep the damage on slam the way it is, keep the damage on regular punch the way they are, they're fine. But increase the damage on slam when empowered, and let it slow enemies, and maybe reduce the damage and stun duration of Empowered Rocket Punch by just a little bit. I think just like a 0.15 second reduction on the stun to bring it to 0.6 would be okay. I don't think it would feel that bad. Maybe like, what, the range could be 0.4 to 0.6, so the minimum stun is a little bit lower, but it's slightly better. And the maximum stun is a little bit lower as well. Because in my ideal world, Doomfist would be able to get more empowered punches and more empowered slams. And that's kind of the route they went for in Season 2, and I liked that. But they then removed that for some reason, but kept the empowered punch as weak as it was. So I'm not really sure what they were thinking with that. It's really perplexing to me, but I really think Doomfist could benefit from just more playmaking ability, because his playmaking ability currently is just killing people. And while that's interesting and kind of a spin on a tank hero, I don't know if that's how I'd like Doomfist to be ideally. I like him the way he is, obviously. I still play him, and I still like him, but I don't know if Punch Bot and Shotgun Bot are the best course of action for Doomfist. I think he could be more. He could be better. And I really would like it if the dev team thought about ways to increase his CC without making it too frustrating, and increasing his playmaking ability without making it too strong. Because he feels kind of bland right now, which is weird, because Doomfist, in essence, is a very active hero, where you have to do a lot of things. Him being bland just doesn't really make sense on the face of it. But when you look deeper into his kit, you'll see what I mean. He just doesn't really have anything interesting to do except for the Empowered Punch. And the Empowered Punch now comes up online less often than it used to, and it does less than it used to. So it just... I don't really understand why, because Empowered Fist is a really cool ability, and I feel like they just could have left it the way it was before and it would have been pretty good. But they didn't. They changed it and made it weaker and come up more often, and then they got rid of it coming up more often. So now it's just worse. The Empowered Fist is like a really cool concept, and I really wish they would build upon that and make his character more about getting empowered and then doing things with that Empowered Fist, rather than just punching people, getting empowered, punching them again, running away with slam, getting back in, punching them again, getting empowered, punching them again. It's just... it's not really where I'd like to see the hero be. And I feel like it'd be more interesting if he wasn't just a punch bot, and I think it would be more fun if he wasn't just a punch bot, if he could do more things. Because currently all he does is just mitigate damage, punch people, and damage them with slam. And that's kind of boring, in my opinion. Stunning them and slowing them and booping them around with punch is way more interesting to me. That was interesting. Alright, well, that's all I got for you today. So, just kind of my thoughts on Doomfist and how they could make him a little more interesting. Not necessarily better, because he's already pretty good, just more interesting. Because I think he definitely needs that. I think he needs an interesting buff to make him more fun to play. Oh. So that's all. Goodbye for now.